At 15 years old, this boy had 76 subscribers. 76. Today, more than 500 million people watch him, more than any other human being on the planet. But that's not the interesting number. The interesting number is 6. For 6 years, almost nobody watched. And what he did during those 6 years reveals a psychological law that can change your life, whether or not you've ever seen a single one of his videos. Let's start at the beginning. 2012. A 13-year-old sits alone in his room in front of an old laptop and uploads his first video. Viewers, 10, not 10,000, 10. We'll call him MrBeast, the name the whole world knows him by today. The start was anything but easy. When he was young, his family went bankrupt. Both parents had been in the military and they moved constantly. And as a teenager, he was diagnosed with a chronic illness that forced him to give up the sport he loved. Later, he said something that stuck with me. I just live life on hard mode. If you wake up in the morning with energy, you're already miles ahead of me. And yet, or maybe, because of that, he had only one thing on his mind: YouTube. But the beginning, the part almost nobody tells, looked like this. At 14, a few dozen subscribers. At 15, 76. At 16, barely 1,000. For 5 years, that line stayed almost flat along the bottom. During that time, he did something his classmates found strange. He talked about nothing else, how it all works, why one video gets clicked and another doesn't. People told him, "You're obsessed. Get a life." He spent hours every day with other young creators, sometimes up to 18 hours a day, picking apart a single question. What keeps people watching? When do they click away? He didn't feel his way to success. He studied it, like a science. Then came the moment that almost ended the story. After school, he enrolled in college. His mother wanted him to. But instead of going to class, he edited videos in his car. After 2 weeks, he dropped out. And his mother, who loved him and was simply afraid for his future, gave him a choice: college or move out. He left, with a box and his laptop. Everyone thought he was crazy. What happened next proved him right, in a way nobody saw coming. In January 2017, he uploaded a video that sounds absurd. He counted, out loud, from 1 to 100,000. That actually took almost 40 hours straight. He sat there and counted until his voice gave out. Within days, over 5 million views. After 6 years flat on the floor, the curve suddenly shot almost straight up. And he didn't stop with these crazy ideas. He shattered a glass with 100 megaphones. He watched paint dry on a wall for hours. From the outside, it looked like nonsense. In reality, it was research. He was testing what grabs people and measuring every time what worked. Really picture that curve for a second. 5 years as a flat line, barely above zero, and then, like a rocket, within 1 year, from almost 30,000 to over 1 million. A few years later, the biggest channel in the world. From the outside, it looks like an overnight miracle, except that one night took 6 years. But what did he actually do differently from the millions who also gave up? He didn't just keep going. He made one small thing better with every single video. He stared at numbers other people ignored. How many click? How long do they stay? At which second do they drop off? His own advice: roughly, make 100 videos and improve something with each one. Your 100th will be in a completely different league than your first. And every cent he earned, he poured straight back into bigger videos. He kept almost nothing. He reinvested everything. And out of that grew something hard to believe. Today, MrBeast isn't just the biggest creator, he has a whole empire. His own chocolate brand, a huge television show, and here's the wildest twist: it's the chocolate that pays for his videos today. Some of his biggest videos cost millions and barely turn a profit themselves. He once said openly that making his big TV show wasn't a smart financial decision. He lost money on it, but he wanted to do it anyway. And there's another side I love. His very first big brand deal paid him $10,000. What did he do with it? He gave all of it away to a homeless man. That became a trademark. He helped plant over 20 million trees. He raised millions for clean water for people who have none. The boy with 10 viewers is changing real lives today. But, and this is what it's really all about, none of that explains the actual mystery. Because the easy answer would be, the guy's a genius, a natural. But that's not true. What carried him upward was something far more boring. and something science can explain remarkably well. Why do some people keep going for years while almost everyone quits? And what's actually happening inside our heads while they do? Let's take a look. There's a word researchers found for exactly this ability. In English, it's called grit. The psychologist Angela Duckworth became famous for it. She studied cadets in one of the toughest training camps in the world. And sure enough, the ones with the highest grit score were more likely to make it than the ones with the most talent. But, and this matters to me because being honest matters more than sounding motivational, there's a catch. Later, larger studies showed grit alone tells us surprisingly little about success. It's almost identical to a trait we've known about for ages, conscientiousness. So persistence counts, but persistence alone isn't the secret. So what is the difference? It's called deliberate practice. The researcher Anders Ericsson showed this. A lot of people believe you just need 10,000 hours of doing something, but that's a misunderstanding. Mindless repetition gets you almost nowhere. What counts is improving one specific thing each time, hunting for mistakes, getting feedback, adjusting. And that was MrBeast's real secret. Not 1,000 videos, but 1,000 times a little bit better. And something fascinating happens in your head while you do this. At first, when you learn something new, the front part of your brain works over time, the part that plans and strains. It feels like effort. But when you do something over and over, control shifts deeper inside into a region responsible for habits. The action starts running almost by itself. Your brain literally rewires. We call it neuroplasticity. Effort turns into skill. That's why everything looks so easy when a pro does it, not because it came easily, but because they repeated it until it became easy. But here's the real question. If persistence is so powerful, why does almost everyone quit? Because our brains are wired for fast rewards. We expect progress to move in a straight line, a little effort today, a little result tomorrow. But that's not how it works. In reality, for a long time, it looks like nothing is happening. You work, and the curve stays flat. The author James Clear calls it the valley of disappointment. And it's right there, in that valley, that most people step off. But the work isn't wasted. It's just not visible yet. It's being stored. Like MrBeast, 6 years of stored work that suddenly exploded. And now I have to be honest with you, because there's an uncomfortable truth that stories like this almost always leave out. It's called survivorship bias. We see the one who kept going and made it, but we don't see the many who worked just as hard, held on just as long, and still didn't make it. They're simply invisible. Which means persistence is not a guarantee. It raises your odds, but it promises you nothing. And that's why maybe the smartest lesson in this whole story is this: build a path you'd want to walk even if no one were watching. Because in the end, it's not about big goals. It's about your system. Not, I want to be famous, but dying today I improve one single thing. If you get just 1% better every day, after a year you're not a little better. You're about 37 times better. Small steps sound unspectacular, but they're the real engine behind every curve that suddenly explodes. MrBeast once said, even if no one watched his videos to this day, he'd still keep going. Maybe that's the whole secret. Know someone who's into this kind of thing? Send it their way. Stuff like this is more fun shared. And if you'd like to keep exploring questions like this together, in the next video, we look at why some people benefit from artificial intelligence and others get replaced. You don't want to be on the wrong side of that curve. I'm Poppy. If this helped you, drop a sub. See you in the next video.